Hey guys, OGalbina here, and hot take, I think the regional only dex formats of Generation 8 and 9 are great. For Draft League in particular, it kept things feeling fresh and new throughout both generations. This is especially the case when you keep in mind the DLCs that were slowly introduced, reintegrating more Pokemon into the metagame each time they were dropped. There are, of course, downsides. So many of my favorite Pokemon in the Draft League format were excluded from the Paldea region's Pokedex this time around. And going on 2 years in the meta, I'm missing a ton of them like crazy. So in today's video, I just wanted to highlight some of the best Draft League Pokemon not in Scarlet and Violet's Pokedex currently. This isn't a top 10 or in any order in particular. It's mostly just a chance to waffle about some of the mons I miss using a ton. If you guys do enjoy today's Draft League discussion video, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, and I'd really appreciate if you help us out in reaching that goal. That being said, let's jump into it. It would be a crime to not mention both Nidoking and Nidoqueen first. These Pokemon have been Draft League staples since the format's earliest days. They just boast so many incredible qualities. Their typing is incredible, both offensively and defensively. Poison Ground offers such great defensive roll compression and is a huge help in the builder. Having a Fairy Resist and an Electric immunity in one Pokemon is pretty incredible. Screw you, Tapu Koko. Offensively, they accent each other quite well too, as Pokemon that might want to take your Sludge Waves don't want to take Earth Powers, and vice versa. Speaking of offenses, you might not think they're that strong looking at their base stats, but thanks to their shared hidden ability and Sheer Force, they're absolute nukes into most builds. Sheer Force's ability gives a damage boost to all moves that have secondary effects, in exchange for the ability for those secondary effects to actually occur. It also stops the proccing of Life Orb when Sheer Force boosted moves are being clicked, allowing the Nidos to essentially use it drawback free. What's even crazier is the amount of Sheer Force boosted moves they have access to, which includes but is not limited to Earth Power, Sludge Wave, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, Blizzard, Thunder, Shadow Ball, and Focus Blast. Again, there's more. I'm just listing the special attacking options that the Nidos have. We haven't even talked about how good of stealth rock sitters they are, or how they can go mixed or as physical attackers. Nidoking typically plays a lot more offensively, while Queen is a bit more bulky, but either can slot into either role at a moment's notice. These extremely versatile, bulky, and strong Pokemon are greatly missed by myself and a ton of old head players everywhere. Man oh man do I miss the Tapus. This quartet has been a dominant presence in the Draft League metagame since the Sun and Moon days. Well, besides you, Bulu, you kinda suck. But the other three, man oh man were those guys good. Tapu Koko pivoted all over the place with its insane 130 base speed, access to both U-turn and Volt Switch, and an incredible typing of Electric and Fairy. It could pivot, Revenge Kill, Sweep with Calm Mind, Defog, Stall Break with a crazy fast Taunt and Nature's Madness, and Roost for recovery, and it could even Wall Break with Specs. Koko was the undisputed Draft League king of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and despite the terrain nerf of Generation 8, it was still a top tier threat. Speaking of the terrain nerf, it being a thing is the only reason Tapu Lele was legal in Generation 8. This thing was power incarnate, with Psychic Terrain boosted Psychics and Psyshocks, Stab Moonblast, and Focus Blast to hit Steel types. Nothing wanted to be on the receiving end of a Specs Lele hit. Scarf also functioned as an incredible revenge killer, and Double Dance Iron Defense Calm Mindsets could Mickey Mouse a ton of matchups. Tapu Fini leaned more on the defensive side of things. Water Fairy is such an incredible typing, and it allowed Fini to serve as an incredible glue and pivot on so many teams. Between its Stabs, Knockoff, Taunt, Whirlpool, Nature's Madness, and its Misty Surge ability setting up Misty Terrain, blocking any status ailments being thrown its way, fatter playstyles and Stall had very little for this tank. And much like the Tapus before it, it could run Calm Mindsets to sweep through very well, not having to worry about Toxics coming its way for a good while too. Wooloo was, well, a lot worse, and I don't really miss him. But hey, if him coming back means the other Tapus are back as well, welcome back, Bulu, we missed you so much. If you want to see how I would fix Tapu Bulu and make it better like the other Tapus, check out our recent episode of Fixing Your Favorites where I tried to buff the ugly duckling of the Tapus. One more group of Pokemon, also hailing from the Alola region, the Ultra Beasts. Man oh man, are these guys built for Draft League. I won't go over them all in depth, as I recently made a guide video on the best way to use them in Draft League, but there isn't a single one I don't miss. In particular, I would kill to sweep someone with Autotomycel Seal again, or just Leech Seed Protect whittle them down. I'd love to run Choice Scarf Kartana and mow through a weakened team, or wall every physical attacker with Big Buzzwole. These are my 3 personal favorite Ultra Beasts, but I think I've drafted every one of them multiple times, and not once have I ever been disappointed in a single one. Plus, I think there would be some fun interactions with Ultra Beast and Terra, except for Kartana and Celesteela. I get nightmares thinking about those guys changing their typing and getting more coverage. Alright, enough for the groups of mons, let's start taking a look at individual Pokemon I miss. First up is good old reliable Tangrowth. I'm sure longtime viewers know, I love me some regen. Tangrowth isn't a super flashy mon, but man is it good at what it does. Pivot in, knock off, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, etc., then switch. We could be Assault Vest sets to wall mons from both sides, or be the most annoying physical offense check of all time with Rocky Helmet and either Leech Seed or Synthesis. I love defensive Pokemon that are difficult to switch into. Tangrowth does this, but not by having world-ending offenses, but instead via throwing off attacks that are annoying to switch into. Knock off and Giga Drain keep it healthy, Sludge Bomb for opposing grasses and to grab poisons, and Earthquake to hit annoying steel, poison, and fire types who think they can pivot in on all the above mentioned moves. Continuing with the trend of boring, non-flashy defensive Pokemon, next we have everybody's favorite low-tier ground and steel type in Steelix. As Tangrowth above it, Steelix is no world breaker. It's going to set up Stealth Rocks, maybe Toxic a mon or two, roar some mons around, and check what it needs to defensively. But for its price point, it is unmatched in its role. In my opinion, many draft league teams are defined by the value that their low tiers can offer in support of the cool, flashy mons at the top. Steelix is as good as it gets in regards to that. Speaking of flashy top-end mons, nobody does it like my GOAT Victini. Victini is by far my favorite Pokemon to use in Draft League, and the mon I've had the most success with by far. At the time of recording this video, I have a total of 111 KOs in 72 games with Victini in my career. The next closest is Cinderace at 84, which I have drafted more than Victini. A difference of 27 kills in less games. Keep in mind, I also had the chance to use Gen 8 Libero Cinderace twice, which is much better than Victini on paper. The offensive versatility Victini offers is insane. Bandage, Scarf Physical, Scarf Special, Specs, Boots, Resist Berry, Flame Charger, Will-O-Wisp, Weakness Policy, you name it, Victini can do it. I have honestly never seen a bad Victini matchup before. You just have to find the right set to bring. Please bring Victini back, Game Freak. I just want to click Terrifier V Create with my boy. Next up is another all-time favorite of mine in Zygarde. Zig has one of the most spammable moves ever introduced to Pokemon, 1000 Arrows. Heck, I'd argue it is the most spammable move in Pokemon. A 90 base power ground attack that has no immunities is so hard to punish. In conjunction with Dragon Dance, Coil, Extreme Speed, and other coverage options like Skitter Smack, Stone Edge, Scale Shot, and Outrage, Zygarde is so overwhelming. Zygarde's true strength lies in its defensive applications. It has an unreal defensive stat spread, and with its bulk, it finds a million opportunities to set up. This is especially the case with Substitute, Glare, or Toxic. All of these incredible qualities allow Zygarde to often set up and push past its own checks and counters. Man, another all-time favorite top tier, Zeraora. Speed kills, and Zeraora has plenty of it. The Fast Electric is an incredible revenge killer and breaker. It's another Pokemon that has the incredible quality of being able to break down its own checks. The ground types that should be able to pivot in on its Plasma Fist get worn down really fast by Knockoff, Close Combat, and Grass Knot. It vaults all over the place once the ground goes down, can bulk up or Calm Mind, and has an incredibly fast taunt as well. Zera also has the very unique speed tier of 143, allowing it to outpace the king of Draft League in Dragapult and blow it up with a knockoff. Zera is yet another Pokemon with a good matchup in any game, you just have to find the right set. By the way, Sub-Toxic Zeraora is the best set by far, there's no contest. Last up, Melmetal. The perfect combination of offense and defense. In the past, you might have heard me refer to Pokemon like Iron Hands as Melmetal Pokemon. Something that simply does not get O-code, but hits like an absolute truck. A Pokemon that is guaranteed to go 1-for-1, if not 2-for-1 if positioned correctly. Whether it be Choice Band, Assault Vest, a Resist Berry, Iron Defense Body Press, or Toxic Protect, Melmetal is so hard to handle in each matchup. It's also one of those Pokemon that can pretty consistently 1v1 its checks if prepared correctly, which can be even more frustrating in-game. Plus, could you imagine Terra Melmetal? Terra Steel Choice Band or more defensive typings seem absolutely ridiculous. Let me know if there are any Pokemon you think I missed, or I guess not any that I missed because these are the ones I like, but let me know if there are Pokemon that you miss a ton in Draft League that aren't in the current decks. I mean, I left some bangers off the list. Ferrothorn, Scolipede, Jellicent. I mean, so many of these Pokemon that I drafted so often back in Generation 8 and 7. You can even go back and look at old videos on the channel. I've drafted so many of these Pokemon that aren't in the decks anymore. It's forced me to kind of, you know, build new team comps and figure out new mons that I like using and things like that, but man, do I miss them a ton. If you guys did enjoy this video, again, a little bit more laid back, not as like strict of analysis as we try to do all the time over here, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. On our way to 5K subs. I can only get there if you help me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Later.